Hello and welcome to the Poorhammer Podcast, episode 156. I'm your host, Brad. This is my co-host, Eric.
How's it going?
And today, we're going to relax a little bit. And after last week's high-effort episode, we're going a little more low-effort this week. Eric and I are just going to chit-chat.
Yeah. It's going to be a nice, relaxing one.
We have all of the leaks from Emperor's Children they released earlier this week. We're looking at amazingly shot photographs. It's 2025, and somehow everyone who plays Warhammer has a potato for a phone, but we're getting through it.
Totally used to it from Magic, though, so it'll work out.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Emperor's Children, and more importantly, the impact that Emperor's Children has on how the rest of the Chaos Codices are going to look this edition.
Sounds good.
Real quick before we begin though, the week this comes out on Friday, March 7th, we're doing a live episode. So for all of our Swag Lord and Up patrons, there will be a live episode going on. And for all of our patrons in general, go check the Patreon. There's a poll that I need you to finish filling out before Friday's episode. You'll understand when you read it. For everybody else, it's a secret till next week's episode. Have fun. You should debate becoming a patron. Then you'll know.
Patreon.com/SolelySingleton.
And before we begin, if you're a fan of like our positive episodes, where everything is great and we're having a fun time the whole way through, just know that this is going to be more of a like good, bad, and ugly. There's going to be some rants in here. Kind of like when I talked about demons in 9th. I'm going to be talking about demons again, and I have emotions about demons.
Yeah, so if you were looking for just the positives, I'm excited to play Emperor's Children.
And if you want positive, come back next week when we do a very funny episode. This week, we're going to be analyzing stuff and probably Doomposting by the end of this.
And if you want more positive vibes and you haven't seen it yet, last week's episode.
Dear God, please go watch that. It was so much effort. Everyone did a wonderful job. I cannot believe how good everyone's videos actually turned out. Go watch the other guys' videos. Super cool.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get back to the episode.
All right, so I'm pretty excited about Emperor's Children. I've got my pre-order in and gonna get those models pretty soon. But yeah, we've basically got all the rules and just kind of want to talk about it. And I guess, yeah, the implications of what Emperor's Children means for the other 3 codexes.
Well, sort of 4.
Maybe, hopefully.
We'll get into it.
Yeah, this has implications for demons and the others, and we'll talk about it. But yeah, I kind of want to just talk Emperor's Children. So let's just do that first.
So normally we don't talk about new codices when they come out. We especially don't do it before they come out like we're doing right now. This is an exception case because Eric is fully buying into this army. It's going to be his new faction, so we care a lot about this. It's going to affect how 2 to 3 of my armies, depending how we're counting here, are going to turn out. This is big news for us. So a little bit more of a topical episode this week, but hey, y'all liked when I tore the Demon Codex apart in 9th edition, so.
I mean, it's also just, this is a good, relaxing kind of episode compared to last week's.
Yeah, because I really don't have my thoughts fully planned out or pen to paper here. I have good things I like in this codex. I have things that annoy the shit out of me in this codex.
Same.
It's a mixed bag of emotions. I don't think it's the worst thing ever, but there are things I desperately would beg GW to have a second take at.
Yeah, there's good and there's a lot of mediocre. The army rule, though, it's short and sweet and fucking nails it as far as I'm concerned.
I really like it.
So advanced shoot and charge.
But with this minor caveat that they all have to target different units, which works for Slaanesh. It really gives that Emperor's Children feel that I think is right, and it powers down what is a very strong army ability a bit.
Yeah, this is already still a pretty strong rule. If it didn't have any caveats, the rest of the detachments and data sheets would have been garbage to make up for it. And I do enjoy the idea of just shuffling around, you know, the cycle charging in Total War. I fucking love doing that so much, dude. And this feels like, it feels like that. And then there's also the whole demons thing going on in there about the legions of excess, but let's hold off.
We'll cover demons later.
Yeah, but this army rule feels Emperor's Children. I'm liking it.
And you got 6 detachments, the correct number of detachments that all factions should have gotten at least this many.
This is like the minimum for an actual faction to defend being like a codex, a main faction.
Importantly, I like the majority of these. They feel different. They are fun.
There's 2 that feel really similar to me, and there's definitely holes.
There's enough variety, though, compared to my fears. I really thought you were getting towed.
I honestly expected like 4 and then maybe, you know, the 1 demon.
Yeah. Now, one of the 6 of these is the soup detachment, which I'm not thrilled about. I'm really, really, really not thrilled with how demons was handled in this codex, and we'll talk about that at length.
Yeah, I mean, let's not dance around. Let's get into that detachment. The Carnival of Excess. This is your demon soup thing. You can have up to half of your army from the Legion of Excess units, which are, you know, a subsection of the Slaanesh demons.
And there is a lot of problems I have right now, okay? So this codex has 22 data sheets? 5 of the 22 are demons that can be run in 1 detachment.
Yeah.
For up to half your list.
Though, to be fair, like, Shalaxi's like a quarter of your list.
And nerfed.
We're
not doing that whole conversation right now. It's so fucking weird. It doesn't include, at first, when I did a quick glance, I was like, oh, they don't have the chariots. Maybe Slaanesh chariots are getting legends or something, and I wouldn't be too shocked. But then I realized it doesn't have any of the normal demonette characters.
It's missing a lot of the demons, and there aren't even that many demons. Like, for each individual god, there's only 10 or whatever custom demons for it, and it's like you only got 5 or 4 or whatever.
And a lot of them are the newer sculpts. It's really fucking weird what they decided to go with.
The chariot thing does make sense because that kit is fucked.
Yeah, it's old. If the only thing excluded was chariots, I would have been like, all right, this is them saying, hey, the chariots aren't going to be around. But this just appears to be they only wanted you to, for minor flavor, have a couple demons in your list. This is not a true Slaanesh book. This is Emperor's Children, and it also here is 5 random data sheets that may be of use to you when you do soup.
It kind of feels like this is Emperor's Children, and Carnival of Excess is Emperor's Children's Grotmas.
Yeah, that's a really good way to say it.
Right? Here's your extra detachment.
Especially because it's in line with how Grotmas detachments turned out for half the factions.
Honestly, a bunch of them were the soup ones.
It's also upsetting that a bunch of these demons are worse than the index version of these demons.
It irritates me, but makes a lot of sense though, because with the rest of the army, and especially because you are getting the rest of the Emperor's Children units, having the full index sheets could have been ridiculous.
But it's not a rebalance of all of Slaanesh demons. It's literally, we pick and choose a couple of them, throw them in here and nerf them so they're not good, and then just have it where, hey, you could technically use up to 500 points of these anywhere as soup, or in this detachment you can have your 1,000 point actual dedicated detachment. I don't even hate this detachment is the worst part.
It's cool. I don't think it's particularly strong.
It's the auras of demons buff mortals, mortals buff demons. It's your classic. I would expect this to be, if I was making a Slaanesh codex, right? I'd expect this and one other mortals plus demons detachment of a different flavor. And then I would expect 3 to 4 hopefully ways to play each of them alone. But I know that's asking for a lot out of a second class codex that is not spaceman on spaceman action.
Right. So Carnival of Excess's detachment rule is the Emperor's Children units within 6 inches of Legion of Excess get empowered and vice versa, and the empowered gives sustained hits or a buff of unmodified 5-up score critical if you already had sustained one. It's a solid enough buff, but given the amount of finesse and charge and the fact that it's only 6 inches is you're gonna run into use cases that are this just doesn't work. But at the same time, it's Emperor's Children, it's Slaanesh, finesse is kind of the deal, so okay, it makes sense, and the buff is fine.
It's rough because it makes a problem that we'll get into in depth here worse, which is how anemic Chaos factions are compared to Imperium factions.
Yeah.
If this had the fan base of Space Furries, could you imagine telling a Space Wolves player, hey, you can't take a Redemptor Dreadnought?
Yeah, no, they're missing a lot of classic stuff, CSM and demons.
Yeah, you can't take a generic bike. You can't take a generic jetpack, like jump intercessors, right?
Raptors, Havocs.
Yeah, basic stuff. It's so weird how much is removed. You don't even get the Forge Fiend, only the Mauler.
Yeah, and I guess we should have seen more of that coming given World Eaters.
It's the problem of this further ingrains the problem that I was hoping they would undo with World Eaters. I was maybe the backlash from World Eaters made them learn their lesson. It did not.
Yeah, and like we got 8 new units. They're pumping a new influx of units, and we're still gonna get all of the other ones. And so like we're not gonna get World Eaters. I think we're very obviously World Eaters is the way it's going, and Thousand Sons and Death Guard should be scared.
Yeah, if you have a Chaos Predator or a Defiler in your army or any of those things, consider them on borrowed time.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty clear from this that they are going down to a Harlequin's level amount of data sheets.
And I do want to do an episode about factions and their sizes, but not fully on this one.
No, but it's an important thing to talk about because, like, I am a proponent now of we need to push this. Everybody out there who does not play Space Marines, we need to ensure that GW changes it so if you play Blood Angels, you can no longer play generic Space Marines. If you play Space Wolves, no generic Space Marines. Because if there's pressure on them, then they'll bitch and the game will get fixed. Because it's very clear that no one fucking matters unless you're a whiny child throwing shit at the wall like Deathwatch players. And the third string Space Marine but painted black got a full army back up and running again, while Chaos is fucking over here getting ripped apart.
Yeah, nothing against Deathwatch getting it, but
you're part of the problem, children, so I'm going to throw you in with them right now.
You're the obvious example of, like, you got a bunch of good things because you complained. Clearly, Chaos needs to complain more or something. I don't know.
Complain louder.
Yeah.
Make your voice heard.
All right, the Carnival of Excess detachment. It's the Demon Soup one. I think it'll do pretty well. There's one strat that like lets you kind of get around missing out on your army rule. So like you're like, oh, this one time I need to be able to advance, shoot, and charge. And I'm pretty sure it kind of does that in a way. It's cool. I'm good with it. It's good that it does exist. Moving on from there, Mercurial Host. You can reroll advance rolls. That sounds so very underwhelming, but like it does work well with the army rule. You get more of a chance to get a large advance roll, which you can then, shoot and charge and like all that. So like it's good.
What were the strats on this one? Were there good strats to make up for how bad the detachment rule was?
Yeah, I don't think there's any that are like amazing. It's just reasonable stuff.
Yeah, you get a reactive move, I guess.
Yeah, so like the reactive move could work pretty well with Fulgrim, and like there's definitely going to be use cases for it. And then just the general like sustained hits, -1 to wound, nothing particularly fancy.
No, this is your bad detachment. Everyone gets one of these. You play it for your fuck it, I've played everything else.
Yeah, kind of. And like I don't even think it's bad, it's just super boring. So yeah, not too much excitement with Mercurial Host, but Coterie of the Conceited.
This is the best one.
This one's fucking wild.
This one is the one that if you're not targeting this after reading them all, I don't know you. There's some other cool ones, but this one is like the coolest.
Yeah. At the start of the battle round, your warlord chooses a number of things to kill, and if you do, you get points towards getting bonuses. If you don't, you blow up.
Yeah, the warlord takes mortal wounds for offending Slaanesh by gambling too much.
Yeah. If you do succeed, though, these bonuses, they start out pretty whatever, but towards the end, god damn.
I think the big part to me is the first 2 bonuses are really easy to get to. It's, like correctly shot call 1 point worth and then 3 points worth. And that gives you reroll 1 to hit and wound. That's extremely good math-wise.
It definitely is. And because there is a stratagem that is, I think it's just 1 CP, but after you kill something, you can use it to increase your pledge by 1. You can only use it once per battle round or whatever, but like you can use that as I'm gonna hedge my bets turn 1 or whatever.
Right, just say 0 turn 1, and then if you actually get a kill, pay a CP.
Yeah, and then like now you reroll hits of 1, and it's gonna be pretty easy to get 2 more on once you start actually closing distance and getting into melee to get that 3 for rerolling hits and wounds of 1.
Yeah, it's weird because like this army, you say get into melee, they have decent shooting. The problem is it's all close range shooting, but it's very good.
It's 18 inches.
Yeah. That's normal for Meltas and stuff.
Oh, I don't care. I'm just salty, okay? My Noise Marines used to be 48.
Yeah, no. I kind of like the idea of it's a switch hitting army that plays at close range. Like that's the identity they're going for. Khorne is all about all melee. Slaanesh gives you we're close range, but we're the trixier, switch hitting and then like they've got a bunch of movement shticks and all that. I really like it.
It's a lot of positioning so that you keep away from the things that are potentially scary in melee and shoot them, but still close, and close in on anything that would be shooting, and you're just like, yeah, I got better melee than you. It is really cool, and I think most of these detachments work pretty well in that whole idea. This one, dude, once you hit 5 up, melee weapons get lethal hits and sustained hits 1. Man, we're killing shit.
Yeah. This one is my favorite of the bunch.
The only real problem is everything relies on your warlord and your warlord living.
Yes, but once you get the points, it's still okay, right? You don't lose it if the warlord dies. So killing the warlord just stops you from gaining more.
Yeah, but like if you're playing this, your warlord is going to have a massive target on it, more than normal. And if they do manage to snipe it, dude, you're like your entire detachment rule is just reroll hits of 1. Which is honestly, that risk is fun.
Yeah, I do like that the first 2 are universal and work in shooting. It works like no matter how you build your faction. Then 5 up, I'm not really happy that one is melee only.
I think you're kind of overselling the amount of shooting and how much that matters.
It matters for your noise marines. It matters for your the bolt gun guys, the tormentors. There's a lot of precision stuff in this army.
Yeah, there definitely is shooting. It's just like even then there's going to be a lot of we're already 18 inches 16 inches away, I'll just advance and charge.
You can also advance shoot and charge with the switch hitters, which are not as strong as just going full shooting or full melee, but they exist.
Yeah, but like I mean, you hit 7 up on this packed bonus, it doesn't matter if you're a shooty dude, just close in, you're killing shit, man. So yeah, this is a very cool detachment. I'm very excited to try it out. Rapid Evisceration, this is your transport detachment.
I think this is actually like going to be one of the better detachments, and I'm fine with the slant of like, look, when you've got a limited range, making your transport detachment is totally fine with me.
Sure.
Like a Fish of Fury for Tau or whatever, right?
I mean, given that you only have the Land Raider and Rhino, you're not too excited about...
I mean, that's all you get in any army. It's basically always you have a small transport and a big transport, and with Space Marines, they're both big transports. The only thing is you can't put Terminators or the weird Conehead guys in a Rhino, but everything else fits. But this is nice because it gives you the option to go protecting your dudes, going very infantry heavy, but like not in a stupid, like just balls out way. It plays more with the fact that you're very mobile and tricksy. I think this is one of like probably one of the best competitively speaking, but I think it's one of the better ones from a standing out. Like it reminds me of how in 9th edition with your army, Eric, with Grey Knights, remember how you had the one brotherhood that's the Brotherhood of Steel or whatever, the one where they were all vehicle based?
Oh, yeah.
I appreciate that detachment type existing.
Yeah, I agree. It's nice that it exists, and especially given the range options that are here with the few models, having it be transport based makes it like usable.
And the vast majority of your models are infantry already. It's not like you've got much in the wild side of things. It's a bunch of dudes.
It's not like we have like an entire detachment that's just like the Helldrake. All right, fine, sure. That's kind of a waste of a detachment when we only have this many.
Please don't wish that into being. We haven't seen the Thousand Suns Codex. Please. Please.
So like Rapid Evisceration transports, when you disembark, you can reroll hit of 1 and wound of 1. It's pretty strong.
Yes.
The kind of weird thing is that because you can advance and charge, and like just generally all the data sheets are quick, I feel like when you're using this, it's more for the the bonus of disembarking, you get that, and then the like protection of just like adding wounds from being in the transport, as opposed to like I need to move somewhere because my infantry only has 5-inch move. So it's gonna play a little bit more different than I need to use the transport just to speed around. More of like a defensive layer. The strats are all like very situational and when I would care. And that's not entirely a bad thing either. I think that actually is going to be quite good for like more competitive minded players of, I know when to do this.
Yeah, so like Cecil's Onslaught will get spammed a lot just so that you can jump out of the transport and then charge.
Yeah, it's neat. I think there's going to be a lot of people that really enjoy it, honestly.
I think Rapid Evisceration will be one of the ones that we see a lot of. I think there's the casual crowd that just loves their 1997 garbage rectangle tanks, but I think that it's also going to be good because it lets you play defensively and offensively, if that makes sense. You're playing Alpha Strikey, but you have your defensive layer up.
Because, like, there are definitely some data sheets and units that their threat range is half the board, so they can deploy and then get into the opponent's deployment zone. But that's not everything. So there's going to be, like, I want to load up into this transport and use the transport as extra wounds that get shot at, and then we'll get out and kill them. That's classic. Slaanesh's Chosen is the one that doesn't feel unique to me. It's just the worse version of the Conceited.
I liked this one because this one is your characters arguing with each other. This is the most chaos book detachment I've ever seen.
Yeah, but like the way you play it is you don't give the option of a character killing something. The thing is here, your warlord starts as the favored champion, and then anytime a character kills a unit, after resolving all of its attacks, it becomes the new favored. And each time a model in your favored champion's unit makes an attack, you can reroll the wound. Very strong. There's also some like you can ignore move modifiers, advantage charge, whatever. It'll matter sometimes. The problem is that you gain the bonus rerolling wounds after you finished all of the attacks.
It was my problem with it as well.
Which is why if you're like trying to really play this, you play with the warlord and maybe a support character that's not really going to get any kills because it's just doing whatever. And then the warlord just gets to reroll wound rolls.
That's a problem I agree with. However, I love the spirit of the detachment as much as I don't think it executed properly. The real problem is this should have done what Reaper's Wager did, where the underdog has a bonus, and then you flip-flop who has the bonus so that everyone, whenever they're fighting, is trying to earn favor and is therefore fighting better. Like, I love the idea behind this one. Yes, I agree that this one is just not very good.
Honestly, you bring up a fun little thing that I had kind of thought of where like, yeah, if you're the underdog, you're getting the bonus, and it's like, well, you could have a bunch of characters on there getting bonuses, and I was like, all right, Slaanesh, like, oh, we're gonna prove that I'm so much better.
Yeah, everything is about overly proud duelists.
Yeah, but that means that I'm gonna push myself even further. So like there could be a debuff attached to those ones of like, you know, I don't know, fucking worse save or toughness or whatever.
Sure, they take +1 damage or whatever.
Yeah, whatever it is, it doesn't matter, but it's like you're more killy, but you lose defenses because you're just not focused on that. You're trying to prove yourself. That would be fucking fun.
Yeah, maybe your characters are +1 to get wounded.
Yeah.
Or your character's unit, so that way it affects bodyguards because characters don't have that much effect on the game, blah, 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 blah.
And that would feel more like the gameplay is actually doing this like rivalry back and forth as opposed to right now where it's like, sure. Yeah, it does, but it doesn't affect anything until next battle round, basically, because...
Yep, but spirit-wise, God, I love it. But the execution, it's just Reaper's Wager does it better.
Yeah, the strats are pretty solid, but I don't think it changes if you enjoy this. If you're interested in Slaanesh's Chosen, the strats will be fine. You're here for, like, the story elements, I think. The last one, Peerless Bladesmen.
This is like the index attachment in my head.
This is the generic default.
If you told me this codex had an index, I'd be like, oh, this was the index attachment. I don't think it's bad. This is vanilla ice cream. This is when you're like, hey, distill the identity of the army into a detachment to like further the identity of the army, if that makes sense. Like that's how index attachments tend to go, except for like the bad ones, but we're not getting into that.
Optimally, that's how they went.
Yeah,
yes.
Optimally, that's how they went.
So on this one, your Emperor's Children units that charge to get a bonus, and it's either lethal hits or sustained hits. Which, like, there's definitely units that are going to get more advantage from one or the other. So, like, being able to choose that when you're resolving the attacks is great. And they're reasonably solid. Yeah,
basically, for those wondering, the equation evens out when you have a 4 to wound. At that point, it's a wash. If you have a better wound than that, sustained hits becomes better. If you have a worse, lethal hits becomes better.
Yeah, I mean, this is very obviously a melee killy focused detachment of you're charging and killing shit. And yeah, the strats and enhancements kind of focus on that as well. And it does a good job, which, I mean, given like the whole advance, shoot, charge army rule, like from a, I don't know what I want to do, but I just kind of like fill the list out. Peerless Bladesman is probably a decent default because most units are going to have decent melee and movement. So yeah.
It is more melee slanted. If you're trying to go like Noise Marine heavy, this attachment's not for you.
You can only go so Noise Marine heavy though, because it's not battle line and they're units of 5. So.
Yeah, we were going to get into the uglies.
But yes, if you had that style of more shooting focus, then yeah, I think most people could be like, yeah, Peerless Bladesman's probably not the choice. Overall, there's 2 that are like the Warlord character ones, but yeah, I guess Slaanesh Chosen is still a fun take on it. And then yeah, we've got 4 more that are pretty unique, so not bad overall. Could have been a lot worse.
The detachments are the high point to me. So I have complex thoughts on this. This is a bad Slaanesh book.
Oh, this is an awful Slaanesh book.
But if it's truly an Emperor's Children book, this is a great Emperor's Children book that has really weird treatment of demon soup.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. They threw demon data sheets in here to pump up numbers because this is an anemic fucking army, as we're about to get into. And for some reason, they didn't want to use the CSM ones to actually bump up the number of Emperor's Children. I have no idea what's going on politically inside GW right now, but this is like actual insane. I don't fucking understand how you would end up at this point. Like, something is weird, right?
Something is very, very weird.
We have a bunch of Chaos armies that are at their core a Chaos Space Marine army that is dedicated to one god.
Yeah, that's like the whole point of the legions, essentially.
They have their bespoke units. That is why you're this and not Chaos Space Marines. Except Chaos Space Marines get to use the core ones of them anyway, but we won't get into that part.
And that's fine, whatever.
It makes sense for the ones that are supposed to be borrowing like Black Legion, just lore-wise. The problem is, like, because you worship Slaanesh, you forgot about Raptors, something that is aesthetically extremely Slaanesh.
Yeah, dude.
Warp Talons, the crazy guys on jetpacks with giant fucking claws. The most Slaanesh-y thing I can imagine, other than noise stuff.
And it was the same thing with World Eaters.
Yes, World Eaters had so many ones where people were like, how is this missing? How is that missing? Neither of these armies have a Terminator character. You have Terminators in your army. Technically, you can only play them in 5s, not 10s.
But like, they're Terminators, but you don't have a character, which is mind-boggling. You're a CSM.
Granted, they made it so one of the characters randomly can lead Terminators, even though he's not one. Cacophonist. I guess he gives them ranged weapons sustained hit 1 on your Terminators. So, like, I guess your combi weapons can be sustained 1 on your 401s with 1 shot each. You could have an autocannon for 4 whole shots with sustained hits. Oh no, it already had sustained hits, so fuck it.
It's weird. And it's not like they didn't have options.
You have the new fucking Chaos Lords and all that shit you could have pulled from. You just gotta paint them pink.
Essentially, you just have to paint it pink. Cultists aren't here. I get you don't have a specific, unique, this is Emperor's Children cultist, or this is, you know, the Slaanesh cultist. But like...
Reminder, Thousand Suns. We have Zongor, right?
Yeah.
We still get cultists. We have our bespoke cultist alternative. Because, like, that was the thing, is everyone has their cultist alternative, but we kept cultists in addition. We could donate our cultists to EC so they could have a cultist, and then we could just keep our Zongor as our bespoke cultist equivalent.
Yeah, because like I do want to eventually talk about our expectations for the other 3.
I'm seeing a lot of patterns. Many of them I don't like. Some of them I'm actually like, okay, we'll see what they do here. Other ones are like, oh no.
Yeah, a lot of it comes down to there's like 20 data sheets here.
There's less. The demons are soup. They're not fucking real. You have 17 data sheets to pull from if you're not playing the demon soup.
And like, that's not enough. I understand the long-term idea and goal of like, we don't want to add that, whatever the character Terminator or the Raptors or the cultists or whatever that is. We don't want to add that because we're remaking it or we're making an alternative, and it's, you know, we don't want to have both of them in there and kind of thing. And like, okay, long-term, sure. But what about right fucking now?
I would love to be naive enough to believe that.
Yeah, I mean, that's not what it is, but like, that could have been a thing. But even if it was, like, the defense right fucking now, it's not there.
Okay, so that can be the defense. So they had the same defense for Thousand Suns when they first launched Thousand Suns, that they couldn't use a whole bunch of stuff because, well, they're gonna get a bespoke version.
Yeah, how'd that work out?
Well, we're 8 years later.
And AOS is giving you Zongors.
They were in the launch. I think they were in like a 6 month later update.
Yeah, dude, we've got a bunch of new ones. We get Fulgrim, Lucius, Lord Exultant, Lord Cacophonist. Those are all great. Very cool.
Those are all characters, sir. The cheapest thing I can give you is a fucking foot hero. I cannot spend less engineering or manufacturing time on something than a foot hero.
And then we've got, the Flawless Blades, and we've got the Tormentors and Fractors, which are
a dual build kit, but I appreciate that you got a full dual build kit to get 2 units out of it. Lessons have been learned. High five. Well done, GW.
And then we got the Noise Marine refresh. So there are like 8 essentially new units in this army. That's great. And we've got a bunch of other ones that are like, from CSM, but there's so many missing things and a major hole in this. And perhaps it's just because I was a Grey Knights player and running up against things with big toughness like tanks was scary and problematic and annoying. I look at this list and I go, oh boy, I'm so glad I get to play another faction that has shit anti-tank options. Wish they had left some of those in.
Yeah, you're really bad at picking factions for that one, huh?
Like, it fucking blows my mind. Why leave an obvious hole in this when you have options? Like, somebody had to choose to not include the other generic units, the Predators, and like the Possessed, the Venom Crawler, all of these, Forge Fiend, Filer, Hellbrute. Somebody had to choose not to include them because, like, the default is, okay, let's take the CSM range and then we'll trim out some things and add some things and make it more custom.
If you were a Space Marine, it would be, we'll start with the CSM range and then we'll add things. You may lose one thing for lore reasons.
Yeah, man, it's tough. I'm super excited about the new units. I really am. A bunch of them look so fucking cool. And it's nice to see that, like, there is a detachment that lets you soup the demons in.
And the Demon Prince doesn't need to be souped because, again, Demon Princes in 40k are fucking weird. But it's also, like, the best Demon Prince we've ever seen. So more of this, please. Can we have all our Demon Princes be written this good?
Yeah, but, like, it is a bit of a downer when you look at, like, this is all we have kind of thing from a units playable. And it isn't like Votann where they had to make new sculpts for everything.
Yep. That's why it's more infuriating.
It sucks for Votann that they have such a small range, but like there's an understanding of the amount of work, effort, and time commitment to making completely new sculpts for everything because nothing, you don't have anything to build off of.
Eric, have you thought about the amount of time and effort it takes to paint pink with GW paints?
True. I hadn't thought of that, no, because obviously I fucking wouldn't use GW paints to make pink. That would be insane.
I do know we're sounding super negative, by the way. We knew going in this is how it was going to look. We hoped against hope it wouldn't look like this, but we are not fools, and we saw World Eaters. And as much as we hoped that GW was going to see the error of their ways, clearly they made enough money off of Angron that they expect that Fulgrim will make them enough money that it doesn't matter. They don't have to put effort into chaos.
Yeah, I mean, there was some minor expectation that, like, it would have been slightly better than this, but it was obvious they were going to cut down a lot. This is just more than expected as far as I'm concerned.
It is a little fucked up that, like, the two things are, like, the Forge Fiend and the Hellbrute.
What the fuck?
I could have told you already. I made the joke months and months ago on an episode somewhere where I joked that you were never going to get Raptors or Warp Talons, even though it made sense because Khorne didn't get them either.
All right, sure. It's a fucking bullshit joke and it's a bullshit thing that happened, but fine. CSM generic can have those. They can keep them. But like you said, like the fucking Hellbrute and the Forge Fiend, we get the Mauler Fiend, not the Forge Fiend.
You have half the build. The funnier part was in Thousand Suns, we have the Mutilith Vortex Beast, right? Which a lot of people forget is an old world kit that got 40k-ified, right? Like it's literally just you can run it in 40k. That's an alt build with the Slaughter Brute. World Eaters didn't get the Slaughter Brute. It's still not in 40k. They just fucking forgot that the other half of that kit is legal in the game.
It's so weird, man. It is just so weird. Meanwhile, I'm like, does this mean that like one of the other legions are gonna lose their Mauler Fiend and just get the Forge Fiend? Like, is Thousand Suns just gonna be like...
Well, I am taking this as if you own a Predator or a Vindicator, thanks for the money, idiot.
Yeah, no, those two, those aren't going into the legions. Ain't happening.
Yeah, and before you're like, well, I already have it. They wouldn't take it away from me. Ask Death Guard about Possessed.
It's another one that's like, why?
Also, of everybody, why the fuck don't you have possessed? And then their argument is because you get better possessed with the cone heads. And it's like, give them both options if that's supposed to be part of the identity. Just like the 8-bound, the worst idea to ever exist. It's like, you could still have them be the worst idea to ever exist and also have normal possessed.
Very much so, especially when you only have this many units. It's one thing of adding additional redundancies to Space Marines when you have 140 units.
You're not even exaggerating, you're actually under, depending how we're counting.
Yeah, I was like, depending on how it is, it's about, yeah. But like, you don't need an additional data sheets that is just thing but slightly worse. You might still get it because you're Space Marines, but like when it comes to factions that have, you know, less than 30 data sheets, it's okay to have a redundant one if it already was like existing and you didn't have to spend resources to making a new sculpt and all that kind of stuff.
And it lets you flavor your army in a direction.
Yeah, let it happen. It's tough, dude. It really is. But kind of moving on, but still talking units. And this is interesting because they changed a lot of the data sheets.
Yeah, every demon is different. Almost every single one of them is strictly much worse. With the single exception of the Demon Prince, who, as we talk about in 40k, they're treated more like a Space Marine than a demon because of the reasons why.
There's one that, like, I think the Keeper of Secrets is like, it's worse, but it's not, like, maybe a side grade.
It's worse. It's a lot worse. We already have a 4-up invuln. We lost a 5-up feel no pain to get a fucking 3-up save, which is instantly back to your invuln at AP -1, which is anything worth shooting.
True. Shalaxi
was taken out back.
So the entire like awesomeness about Shalaxi was it made your opponent basically play keep away with all of their, like, you know, their characters and vehicles and stuff like that, where it's just like, never get close to Shalaxi, be on the other side of the board because your shit's gonna die. This one, the new rework of Shalaxi, is still good. Like, it's still gonna kill shit, but like, you have to choose at like start of the first battle round, you choose a mark, and it's like, okay, that's the only one that really needs to play keep away. The primary weapon went from 14 to 12 strength, which 12 is still good, but it's not quite the same amount of point at target dies. Also lost the 5-up feel no pain, but gained the 3-up save.
Demonettes just got nerfed. We lost our rerolls. Fiends got nerfed. They lost their -1 and cost more points. Not that we're going to talk about points much, because Codex points are always bullshit. We'll get the real points in a couple weeks, but it's bad. The Demon Prince, thumbs up.
Fully reworked their abilities essentially from scratch.
Yeah, but then there's inherited units that did change. Chaos Spawn having an OC is huge, and they move better.
Dude, that extra OC is massive for Chaos Spawn.
Yeah, they have an OC.
Yeah, which is big, especially when Emperor's Children is going to be moving quickly around the battlefield a lot. So it's nice to have something that's cheap bullshit to just sit on a point.
And I do wonder if that buff will get FAQ'd for CSM, and it's just how Chaos Spawn are going to be. Like, if everyone's going to have a Chaos Spawn that looks like this now, and they'll just be like, hey, change CSM's Chaos Spawn to say this.
That would kind of make sense, yeah.
Sorcerer is wildly different. Terminators can only be 5 models now.
You also got nerfed by your actual ability. Actually, you don't get the reroll hits. It's just a reroll charges against something that you already shot, which is still fine, but like not quite the same. The Land Raider actually got a buff though. The transport capacity went from 12 to 14.
It got a required buff. It didn't get a buff. Math-wise wouldn't work in this faction.
Yeah, the transport numbers that you needed just didn't really work, but they had thought about it. Okay, that was not always obvious.
Cognizant thought happened here. I'm impressed.
Exactly.
If this was any other Chaos faction, they would have just released it not working right. See, all the index rhinos.
Yeah, I guess the Rhino did lose its wound regen.
Yeah, but it's way better with the advance and unload is crazy better.
Yeah, especially for
Noise Marines.
And for rapid evisceration, the transport detachment.
Yeah, I think the Rhino is real good right now, as I'm sure most people who like Space Marines are happy about. As much as I meme on the Rhino, I think most people who are fans of this faction are happy with what the Rhino looks like.
And it does its job. Whatever needs to be said about the model itself, it does its job, man. The Mauler Fiend did get a buff.
Yeah, to me, it's a buff, yeah.
And I think the buff actually helps a bit for the anti-tank issue. You get +1 to the hit roll if you're below starting strength, and +1 to wound as well if you're below half. That's kind of nice.
Helldrake is different. It's weird because it's like it got a combination change of like, it got the bomber ability from the one from World Eaters, but it's weird. It's the 15th Helldrake this edition.
Yeah, I mean, it did general stats get a buff. The bomber thing is whatever. Generally, those don't mean anything, and losing the +1 to hit flying doesn't really mean that much as well.
Yeah, but the bomber part, you get to add one to its bombing result if the unit had fly. So it's like spiritually, it's got the anti-fly.
Yeah, that's kind of neat. The real thing is its 3-up save went to a 2-up save.
Yeah, which is really nice.
It is really nice, especially when toughness went from 9 to 10 and 12 wounds to 14 wounds. Like, it's just tankier all around.
I don't think it's good.
But it might not be terrible.
Yes.
That's good enough.
Got a spare Helldrake you could paint.
Right, yeah, sure.
Coming to the Kieran show in 20...
I wonder if I ship that to the Kierans, if they'll be okay. We've got a new challenge going on.
Let's just keep baiting him into challenges and we'll have him paint all of our Chaos armies. No, guys, we're doing this other one. It'll be a great crossover episode. Big numbers.
The episode's probably going to be out in like 2 years. So like, we're just going to roll a couple of them together.
Yeah, so lots of changes throughout. They don't really matter to me, if that makes sense, of like all codices end up with the index changing, right? This is the first time this army has existed. These aren't really changes for all the ones they inherit. This is what this version looks like for EC.
Right, and that's kind of like the Noise Marines changed. They gained a toughness, and the shooting went from 48 inches or 24 to 18. That's the new EC thing. The real interest for all of these changes is the fact that they changed the demons.
Yeah, I don't like it. It's weird. It makes some sense.
I think it was kind of necessary for balance, but that's the kind of thing that has me slightly worried, like long term, of if we make all of the demons have like, you know, their own unique custom stat lines and all that kind of stuff, even abilities for the different traitor legions, it's just that much easier to get rid of the demon codex.
Yeah,
right? Like, it just is. You already have data sheets in the traitor legions, so why do you need them also in the demon codex? I don't think that's going to happen for 10th edition, but 11th edition?
No, so an article came out this morning that talked about playing demons in EC, and obviously we already had the codex leak, but they're pretending it's the first you're hearing of it. And the way they said certain lines sound vaguely threatening.
Oh, yeah.
There was a line that was like, if you want to use your Slaanesh demons without EC, you can use them in the Grotmist detachment. That will remain legal. And I'm like, or the index, right?
Right? Also, obviously it's going to remain. Why was that a choice?
It's such a weird way to state it. And like, Demons is one of 3 codices or 4 that are not on the schedule. And it's like, are we just like dead last? Or is this a sign that we're literally going to go all of 10th with no demon codex? This is a sign of the bad timeline.
The problem is the amount of vague, or I guess it's not entirely vague, the fact that they haven't decided to say anything concrete one way or the other is concerning. It's not difficult to just be like, yeah, 10th edition Demon Codex is coming out, not going to be anytime soon, it might be one of the last ones. Maybe you don't even say anything about that, you just say, yeah, it's going to be in 10th. Not that difficult.
Yeah, just like they said for Grey Knights when they announced Imperial Agents was going to have Grey Knights, and they're like, calm down, Grey Knight fans, you still get a codex this edition. You just had to say that line. Why didn't you say that line?
Yeah, and they also haven't actually said that, like, no, it's not happening. It's a bunch of these, we have to take, like, all of these quotes that are, like, talking about it without actually saying anything specifically concrete.
We're quietly polling to see if we can get away with this, or if you'll all yell.
As much as that sounds like tinfoil hat conspiracy, I'm not entirely sure it isn't.
We've dealt with companies enough in our lives that we realize that this is actually how it is.
Yeah, like, we still have enough time for them to roll certain things back. We're getting dangerously close to not having enough time if, 11th edition is coming out normal as expected. But, like, it's still possible at the moment, which this very much could be them feeling it out and seeing the reactions of Emperor's Children and, the other 3 Death Guard, Thousand Sons World Leaders, which are, on the near horizon. And dude,
it's like extra fucked up because it's like, I wished for Codex Slaanesh to cement, okay, we're getting a codex for each chaos god that will include all of their dedicated legion, all of their demons, and you'll have like ideally 12, but realistically 6 to 7 ways to play those units depending on, right? And that's all I fucking wanted. And then there were other parts of the demon community who are like, no, I like souping my Khorne, Nurgle, Slaanesh, Tzeentch. Nothing has any synergy. Everything is bad. I haven't won a game in 10 years. And that's a fine alternative, I guess. I hate it, but you know, that is an alternative.
It's a perfectly reasonable status quo kind of how things have been, and it'll work just fine. Or you could have like each of the 4 individual ones have, you know, both the demon and the specific legions that are going to be for that god. And you have one extra detachment for all 4 of them that are like, you can just soup.
And instead what we got somehow managed to piss everybody off of, we didn't get a Codex Slaanesh. We got Codex EC, and here's 5 of your demon data sheets out of your like however many Slaanesh has in total. There's a lot of stuff missing. So I lose. And also, this did not come with Codex Chaos Demons is over there, so don't whine.
Right.
So this is like a bad outcome for literally anyone who owns a demon.
Yeah, basically. Especially since the Emperor's Children is so lacking on the demon side that it seems obvious and necessary that they have to have a demon codex, because holy fucking shit, if you don't, then demons is basically not in 40k, and that's concerning because it's not impossible that happens.
We could be in the stupidest timeline.
Yeah, there is no guarantee. I think 10th we're likely to be fine.
10th is not my concern. My concern now is looking forward 13 months
of were they able to kind of get away with it, essentially. And there's definitely, like, they've already shown that certain things can get the legends treatment. They could mass legends a bunch of the demons and keep, you know, these 5 or 7 data sheets for each of the 4 Traitor Legion codexes.
I don't know they even bother at that point. They just would forget them because they're a footnote in this army. Like, looking at it, it's playable in one of the 6 ways you can play. It's not the best way you can play.
And there's only like a half of the demons.
And nerf data sheets to boot. Like, they are like set up to fail within this codex. So there's no reason to have them in this codex next edition if this is how they're treated. So if you get rid of them in the demon codex too, this is the exact worst possible outcome that we didn't even know was an option. It was, hey, I want dedicated pure Tzeentch book versus, hey, I want dedicated pure demon book. And it's like, what if? Neither.
What if no demons?
At which point, I guess, is 11th edition going to just be done with chaos? You've got Chaos Space Marines, which is a faction.
It's the bad guys of Space Marines, right? Like, you have Space Marines and then you got the bad Space Marines.
You've got bad Imperial Knights, which is Chaos Knights. You've killed demons, and you have 4 armies, 3 of which are super anemic. Death Guard kind of gets away from that. It's got about double the units of everybody else because it actually had a launch.
Yeah, Death Guard's doing fine. It's not great, but it's fine. And Thousand Suns is on the edge. Some things could be taken away from them, and it would be problematic.
You would have to take away 2 data sheets to cripple Thousand Suns into not a faction. We are very small. It's why I go to bat for Harlequin so very hard to continue existing and will not drop the subject, because next could be me, and then there was no one left.
Right. It's a terrible timeline to have demons go away.
But boy, oh boy, is it possible with the way that things are going. And this is something that keeps me up at night. Not literally, but like spiritually.
Yeah, like when I think about it, it's like, oh, that's fucking awful.
And GW, while we're spreading possible misinformation on the internet here, you could very easily make Chaos players calm down and be less worried. With a few words. You have a whole fucking website that you refuse to make it so that I can easily access it on my Discord anymore. You have a whole website where you just gotta type out, here's the plan for demons. You're okay. Chaos will reign. It's gonna be okay. Literally anything other than, hey, we got forced at gunpoint to make Chaos factions because I guess they're in the lore, but I really want to go back to making my 45th Space Marine Lieutenant.
The fact that you bring up, like, Chaos is okay, I don't think that that's enough, because demons need to still exist in 40k as far as I'm concerned. The warp and demons is part of a fundamental aspect to Warhammer. 40k, you have Space Marines and demons and the warp. You have Space Marines, the Halo guy, and you have the warp, Minecraft's Nether. Those are things that exist in Zeitgeist.
The Doom half of the equation.
Yeah, obviously you're not getting rid of Space Marines because that's half of...
Let's be honest. Space Marines is like 80% of your income.
And while Demons is nowhere near that financial stability and incentive, it is still a core fundamental part to Warhammer, be it AOS or 40k. It's like from a lore aspect, and I'm saying this as the person who doesn't care about as much lore, Demons is fucking necessary. If they go away, it's going to make me want to play it less, just generally.
But Eric, you could still play your Grey Knights, the Demon Hunters, the like dedicated anti-warp guys. You could play them against all the other Space Marine factions that'll be left.
Right, because I fucking love Horus Heresy.
Everyone wants games to be more like Horus Heresy, the greatest game, the game of one faction versus itself. I love checkers.
I don't hate Horus Heresy, and that's fine. It's its own thing, but like
it's like a third of one thing.
It's basically a subset of the larger game, and I have legitimate concerns that there's push from like internal politics and previous leadership decisions at GW that are leading to this potential Demons going away timeline, and it really needs to not happen. Games Workshop has done fantastic for decades. They're basically the entrenched juggernaut of wargaming and these miniatures and stuff like that. But at a certain point, you erode the like faith in your brand enough that somebody else is going to take over. It hasn't happened yet, and some of that is because GW has managed to pull their head out of their ass essentially and fix shit. But like, this would be really fucking hard to fix.
So anyway, we want to talk about the other anemic factions that are going to get codices soon?
Yeah, the other three...
The answer now is don't wish too hard, because we've seen the Codex. It's this.
Yeah.
Right, this is how all the other three are going to get treated. Death Guard slightly better.
Look at what has happened here. Extrapolate. So like Thousand Suns, I think you're going to lose your cultists. You already have Zongor.
I don't care. Thousand Suns it's frustrating to see how poorly done the demons were, because Thousand Suns out of everybody is the one who was most praying for demons. 1,000 Sun players just have a higher percentage of people who like demons. We like the warp more than the rest of chaos because it's the magic shit. It's the stuff that we are.
Exactly. It makes sense that Thousand Suns enjoys the demon part more because that's the magic. Like that's where all of the fucking magic is happening and being created from essentially. So yeah, they have cool fucking demons, but you're just gonna get Kairos Lord of Change. Blue horrors maybe? Probably not both blue and pink.
It'll be both just because I don't know what's gonna happen with that kit coming up, because I know like there's been rumors for forever that AOS is going to redo Tzeentch.
It's possible you don't get any of the horrors and you just get flamers and screamers.
My guess is that horrors is going to get remade into a single unit, not pink, blue, brimstone. It'll get like, it's pink with a feel no pain and the pinks have blues on them or something, right?
Which means that they're going to be gone in 10th because they're not going to have had time to redo those kits.
Yeah, whatever. The point is you'll get like horrors, Lord of Change, Kairos, flamers, screamers, that's it.
Yeah, I don't think you're getting Burning Chariot.
No, because you didn't get your chariots in Slaanesh either. Which means you also won't get Exalted Flamer, because they seem to have done it on kit lines. That's why you didn't get any of your characters, because you make the main character out of the chariot kit, unless I'm mistaken.
We didn't get any of them.
Yeah, none of the named characters, none of the unique actually, I don't know what the fuck the rule was, other than bare bones minimum.
We didn't get shit, essentially.
So yeah, it's literally that list. That was the whole list.
I just had the funniest idea. You're not going to get flamers and screamers, you're going to get fucking Soul Grinder. You're going to like it.
No, I am 90% sure the Soul Grinder's dead.
I would assume that out of any of them, that one makes sense.
We've had signs on the AOS sides of things too. The Soul Grinder is going to Legends.
Yeah.
Stay there. Don't come back.
But man, wouldn't it be funny if Thousand Suns had that instead of all their other more interesting ones?
It's going to be a lot of me saying in Minecraft on the episode when that happens.
It's going to be a decent amount of editing there.
World Eaters will get Bloodthirster, maybe Scarbrand. I don't even know if you'll get Scarbrand though, because there's the whole Khorne thing. I don't fucking know.
I feel like you probably do.
Bloodletters, Blood Crushers.
Probably Fleshhounds.
Yeah, Fleshhounds. And you probably get the Skull Cannon because GW seems to love that kit. It might be the one exception case.
Yeah, then you might not get Fleshhounds then, because that's too many.
It's too many.
These are only used in one detachment, okay? We can't have that many datasheets in this codex.
Yeah, you're right. You only need 1,000 points of demons in your life.
Yeah. Death Guard, Great and Clean one. I think Rodigus will be in there.
Sure, the duo of the guo. Will you even get Nurglings, or will you just get the Plague Bearers?
I think you get Nurglings, but...
And then beasts and drones, and that's it.
But, again, Death Guard has more...
Death Guard has so much more going on that it matters less. You have vehicles.
Yeah, of its actual own units. And, dude, I really hope they don't take some away. Wouldn't that be just the worst if, like...
They won't take away the Death Guard vehicles, but I could see Death Guard losing any access to CSM vehicles.
Yeah, that sucks. But it's totally possible, because then you've kind of solidified CSM get these, which are like the generic ones, and then each of the 4 don't have access to that, and they only get these, you know, more unique styles.
I'm also wondering if we're about to see the Hellbrute missing from everybody. I'm wondering if they're trying to quietly sunset the Hellbrute and then launch Redemptor Hellbrute as like a 11th edition CSM model to just be, it's a Redemptor Dreadnought but with spikes.
That's very possible. That'd be kind of neat, I guess.
I'm not saying we'll ever get it back in the Devoted Legions again. It's pretty clear what they think of us.
Yeah, I was like, it could just be that the Legions just don't get it. It's just CSM. Generic. Fuck you. The worst part is I'm still really excited to play Emperor's Children.
Yeah, no, again,
right? Like I am happy about this codex.
All of our whining for the last hours does not concern Emperor's Children. The problems with Emperor's Children are simply, where are the other CSM datasheets if you've got this few, and why did you try to fluff this up to not be the 17 models it really is with the demons that you then shoved in a corner and said don't actually play them, bitch?
Yeah, and like the threat of what you're doing to demons hanging over everybody's head. Like those are the problems with Emperor's Children, but like I'm still excited.
No, I think the codex looks good. I think the Thousand Suns codex, I have some hope. We'll see what they do with Cabal points. That's a whole fucking subject.
I think Thousand Suns from a datasheet, you'll probably be fine. You'll wish you had a few more options, but the real...
We only have 2 datasheets. What could they do?
No, from the demon side.
Oh, yeah. Again, demon-wise, I'm not counting them. I'm ignoring demons in the rest of this discussion because they do not matter in this fucking codex. They will not matter in any of the others. These are not the codices I wanted them to be. These are Codex, EC, World Eaters, Thousand Suns, DG. That's the codex.
And then a soup detachment so that you can technically do the thing.
Yeah, which is basically just a Grotmus detachment that was thrown in.
Yeah, which that's the other thing of like, are these just kind of worse Grotmus detachments?
Well, the other 3 got Grotmus detachments, like ones that weren't soup.
Yeah.
So if it's in the book, I don't really care.
Sure. It's additional options. I'm not going to say no when the expectation is, you know, you're going to get 6 detachments. So like...
Yeah. The point is, I was hoping that I'd see demon stuff we're not seeing, so now I am saying, all right, for a Thousand Suns book that does not actually have demons in it, it'll just say it did and it doesn't, I'll get 5 detachments and a soup detachment plus my terrible one from Grotmus. Cabal points, something is going to happen. It could be good, it could be horrendous. No one is happy with Cabal points. Players aren't happy because they forgot to fix it when they made it in 10th edition. The company's not happy because Cabal points keep on leading Thousand Suns to being good no matter how much they nerf them, because it turns out Psychic good.
Or they're just like, hey, we tried to kill Psychic. Why do you keep trying to push it?
World Eaters will feel like ass.
World Eaters is the real loser here as far as I'm concerned. Like Thousand Sun, you're all dependent on how they do Cabal points. Death Guard has enough of their own stuff that like they'll probably figure something out. World Eaters is fucked.
Yeah, that's the gist of it. Unless there's a secret part 2 of World Eaters and this video will age like milk, we'll all laugh, having a great time. EC next edition, Thousand Suns refresh 2049.
That's about right. Yeah. It'll be at the same time Grey Knights gets its update.
We'll all be laughing. It's all good. I don't believe in sunshine or good things. Have you read the fucking news at any point in the last, like, decade? So, yeah, World Eaters, you're fucked.
Death Guard should be fine. They still have some of their rules issues that need to be ironed out. The index detachment fixed the army rule to be a real rule. So long as they take advantage advantage of knowing those fixes, I think it's totally doable and expected that it'll be fine. It's not quite as scary as Thousand Suns.
And that's why I think Thousand Suns and DG, you're in good shape if you get an EC Codex. World Eaters, good luck.
Unga bunga forward.
You'll be lucky if you get 3 detachments. You have a whopping like 12 models in your range. This proved you're not getting any more.
Basically, like, you might get one and be super happy about it.
You definitely aren't getting any of the CSM ones that should have been added. This kind of proved that they're doubling down on that stupid plan.
That's why World Eaters is fucked as far as I'm concerned, is their expectation was, okay, you can add some of the ones that you forgot last time. Nah, ain't happening. Given a bunch of the Codex detachments that they've done before, even if they get 4, maybe 5 with a soup,
2 of them will be horrendously bad.
that's what's gonna happen.
I want so bad for everyone to come back here and laugh at us in the comments when we were super wrong. World Eaters, eating good, literally twice the number of models. They just announced a new Votann range update. Gene Stealers randomly getting 3 more units.
Harlequins is back. Demon Codex is a guaranteed thing.
It's got 30 detachments. Wow. Wake up, Brad. You've been in a coma too long. Come back. The world's falling apart.
It's 1999.
All right, enough bitching, Eric. We're done. No more. We've doom posted to oblivion as I predicted. It is time for us to get out of here for the week. Tune in next week, everybody. If you managed to make it through all of this, thank you. We'll make it up to you next week with a very funny episode. Or we'll fall on our faces, which will be a different type of funny.
Yeah, sounds good.